Annie Guthrie and her husband Tommaso Cioni, the same man who had dropped Nancy home just days earlier, each received a text message. It did not come from a regular phone number. It came through a VoIP application, a service that generates fake numbers routed through the internet, designed to obscure who is actually sending the message. The text read, "Did you get the Bitcoin? We're waiting on our end for the transaction." A 9-second phone call followed shortly after. Put yourself in that position for a moment. Your mother is missing. You do not know if she is alive. And your phone lights up with a message about a cryptocurrency transaction from a number you do not recognize. That is what Annie Guthrie and Tommaso Cioni were dealing with on top of everything else. The FBI moved fast. Investigators traced the account behind that VoIP number to a Google email address. That email was registered to Derrick Callella, 42 years old, from Torrance, California. He was arrested on February 6, just 2 days after the messages were sent. After being read his Miranda rights, Callella admitted to sending the texts. He told investigators he had found the family's contact information by following news coverage of the case online. His stated reason for sending the messages was to see whether the family would respond. He was charged federally with 2 counts, transmitting a demand for ransom across state lines, and using a telecommunications device with intent to abuse, threaten, or harass. He was held initially on a $20,000 bond before being released under strict pretrial supervision conditions. Hythe Yankee addressed it publicly and without ambiguity. Anyone attempting to exploit this family or profit from this situation, he said, would be investigated and held accountable. Neighbors in Callella's Torrance neighborhood told reporters they were stunned. One described his family as good people who kept to themselves. Here is what must be clearly understood. Derrick Callella had no confirmed connection to Nancy Guthrie's abduction. He did not take her. He did not know where she was. His case and the real investigation were 2 entirely separate things. He was a man who saw a grieving family making headlines and made a choice that landed him in federal court. The real investigation had bigger questions to answer. Through all of it, the forensic work, the ransom notes, the imposters, Nancy's family was not sitting quietly in the background. They were front and center, and they were doing everything within their power to bring her home. Savannah Guthrie stepped away from her career entirely. She had been scheduled to co-host NBC's coverage of the 2026 Winter Olympics opening ceremony. She did not show up. Her seat was filled by someone else. For weeks, one of the most recognized faces on American morning television was absent from the screen, focused entirely on finding her mother. On February 4th, Savannah, Annie, and Cameron appeared together in a video addressed directly to whoever was holding Nancy. They told them the family was ready to listen. They said they needed proof, without any doubt, that Nancy was alive and that the person contacting them actually had her. Cameron spoke separately to the camera. He said clearly, "Whoever is out there holding our mother, we want to hear from you." On February 24th, the family announced a $1 million reward for information leading to Nancy's location or safe recovery. Savannah separately pledged $500,000 to the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, turning a personal tragedy into a public call for attention toward all missing adults, not just her mother. In her first on-camera interview since the abduction, Savannah sat down with her close friend and former Today co-anchor Hoda Kotb. She said the family was in agony. She said they knew nothing. And then she said something that stayed with a lot of people. She wondered aloud whether her own public profile had placed a target on her mother's back. Sheriff Chris Nanos put one concern to rest publicly. He confirmed that every member of the Guthrie family, including all siblings and their spouses, had been fully cleared as suspects. He described them as nothing but cooperative and gracious. Savannah eventually returned to the Today Show. NBC put a protocol in place. If news about the case broke during a live broadcast, Savannah would be removed from the set immediately, and another anchor would handle the story on air. The next section covers what investigators and analysts actually believe happened to Nancy Guthrie, theories grounded in evidence, not guesswork. If you are not subscribed yet, do it now. This is the part of the story most other videos never get to. No suspect has been named. No arrest has been made in connection with the actual abduction. But investigators and analysts who have studied this case closely have not been silent about what they believe the evidence points toward. Sheriff Chris Nanos stated publicly that he believed the disappearance was targeted. Not random. Not opportunistic. Planned. That assessment alone carries significant weight coming from the lead local official overseeing the investigation. The evidence supports it. The suspect had likely visited the property before the night of the abduction, possibly as early as January 11th, weeks in advance. He knew the layout. He knew the camera position. He came prepared with specific equipment. The ransom notes that followed referenced details about the property that were not in public circulation. $6 million was the figure demanded. This operation had structure. The second theory centers not on Nancy herself but on her daughter. Behavioral analysts have noted that in certain abduction cases, the victim is chosen specifically because of who they are connected to, for the emotional leverage that connection provides. Savannah Guthrie reaches millions of people every morning. Her platform, her visibility, and her public profile made her mother a potentially high-value target not for what Nancy had, but for what taking her would do to someone else. Former FBI agent Jennifer Coffindaffer raised a third angle. Based on her analysis of the doorbell footage and the organized precision of the operation, she suggested the masked figure on camera may not have been the person who planned the crime. He may have been hired, a participant rather than an architect. Someone else, she argued, could be behind this entirely. Coffindaffer also put forward a fourth possibility, that the crime was connected to a cryptocurrency extortion scheme. The Bitcoin demands, the specific wallet addresses included in the notes, and the overall structure of the communications were consistent with methods used in organized digital extortion operations rather than a conventional kidnapping. Then there is the note claiming Nancy died shortly after the abduction. That detail does not fit the pattern of someone running a clean ransom operation. It fits the pattern of someone managing a situation that went wrong, or someone carefully controlling a narrative from a distance for reasons that still remain unclear. In June 2026, an anonymous tip claimed Nancy's remains were buried near Nogales, Mexico. A search was conducted. Nothing was found. Brian Enton, after months on this case, said it plainly. The ransom never made complete sense to him. He could not land on a firm theory. And that, in itself, tells you something about how unusual this case truly is. As of late June 2026, 5 months have passed since Nancy Guthrie was taken from her home. And the most important facts in this case remain unchanged. She has not been found. No suspect has been publicly named in connection with her abduction. The masked individual captured on that doorbell camera has never been identified. The forensic work continues. DNA evidence processed across 5 separate laboratories is still being analyzed. Genetic genealogy testing is ongoing, though Sheriff Chris Nanos has described that process as encountering challenges. The investigation has not stalled. It has simply moved into a phase that produces fewer public updates and more quiet, methodical work behind closed doors. A dedicated task force composed of FBI agents and Pima County Sheriff's detectives is still working the case full-time. Around the 4-month mark, that group held an internal reassessment meeting. Sources described it as a frank evaluation of where things stood. No public breakthrough followed. The rewards remain in place. The FBI is offering up to $100,000 for information leading to Nancy's location or the arrest and conviction of anyone involved. The Guthrie family's private reward stands at $1 million. Both tip lines remain active. The anonymous email that surfaced in late June, claiming the sender held a hidden phone with video, photographs, and the identities of 2 kidnappers, is still under FBI review. Sheriff Nanos has been direct in saying that recent communications are in all likelihood fraudulent. But every piece of correspondence gets assessed regardless. One other arrest has been publicly linked to this case. Alexander Zabel Jr., a YouTuber, was arrested in June 2026 after repeatedly showing up outside the Guthrie home to livestream the property. He had no connection to the abduction. His presence was an intrusion on an already devastated family. The investigation is classified as active. The case is not closed. And somewhere, someone has information that could change everything. Here is what we know for certain. On the night of January 31, 2026, Nancy Guthrie had dinner with her family, was dropped home by her son-in-law Tommaso Cioni, and was never seen again. A masked, armed figure appeared at her door in the early hours of February 1. Her blood was found at the scene. Her pacemaker went silent before sunrise. Every belonging she needed to survive was left behind. Here is what we do not know. Who is the man behind that mask? Whether the ransom notes came from the person who actually took her. What the note sent on February 6, the one claiming she died, truly means for her fate. And why, across months of communications, there was never once a proof of life, never a direct line to the family, never a real mechanism to pay even if the family had wanted to. Those are not small questions. They are the entire case. If you are watching this and you have any information, something you saw near Tucson in late January or early February, a conversation that stayed with you, a detail that felt small at the time, please make the call. Contact the FBI at 1-800-CALL-FBI. Contact the Pima County Sheriff's Department at 520-351-4900. Tips have broken cases that looked far colder than this one. Nancy Guthrie is somebody's mother. Somebody's grandmother. An 84-year-old woman who has lived in the same community for over 5 decades and deserves to have the truth told about what happened to her. This is why Unsolved Files exists. We stay on the cases that are not finished. If you are not subscribed, do it now, because when this case breaks, we will be here covering it. Drop a comment below with what you think happened, and tell us where in the world you are watching from. We will see you on the next one.